Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I'm joined by my co-host, Katie Harris. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Katie.
You bet, Hayden. Good to be here.
Excited to have a returning guest. Anytime we can get people to come back on, usually means they had a good time, hopefully, and enjoyed doing the podcast. Brad Camphouse, the bearded realtor. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Yep.
We loved, last time you were on, Brad, we keep joking about it, is our people just started gathering around to listen. And so it was a great time. We're excited. We're excited to continue that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, to Katie's point, it's exactly what we kind of wanted to do today is continue off of that conversation. A lot of what we talked about last time was like your mindset and how you kind of got to where you are today. And you talked about, you know, the scarcity versus abundance mindset and all of that stuff. And we want to kind of build into that when looking at 2025, and how do you maybe get your mind in the right place to set goals for 2025? How do you help make sure
to
that
keep goals,
right? Like maybe you set those goals last year and they're long-term goals, whatever it might be. But I think that's kind of what we wanted to start with, building off of our last conversation, just to talk about, you know, your mindset and how do we build a mindset that helps us have success in a new year,
right?
How do we kind of kick that off? So I'd love to maybe kind of start with that. Katie, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that first, but I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit.
So my kids think I'm a really big dork when it comes to a new year. Like, I'm the type of person, I always love the start of a school year because it felt like a fresh start. I love the start of a new year because I'm like, oh, I can set my goals and have a clean slate. And my kids have always teased me and my husband, because I'll be like, what are your goals for this year? And I get super excited about it, but the more I've done it, I love getting into like February, March, later in the year, and realizing that goals aren't just a once a year thing and you either make it or you don't. It's just get a little bit better all the time. So,
but it is fun to have that hit of endorphins when you do get it.
Yep.
That's what
I made it.
Yeah.
100%.
And I don't know, Brad, tell me, do you love the process of setting the goals?
So, and I tell my kids this, embrace the suck. Right?
Oh, embrace the
sometimes
suck.
it sucks for a while, but then once you achieve it, I don't even know. Like, I think the journey is better.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, yes, I really enjoyed hitting some goals.
Well, the endorphin isn't nearly as good if the goal is little,
Yeah,
right?
And that's why I say set something that is so far out of your realm of thought process. Like, you have to reset that, and that's how we tap into your scarcity versus abundance. Is how do I find the scarcity? Because you don't even realize you have it most of the time. Yeah. And so by doing that, or the way to do that is think about how much you want to make as far as if you need to make $100,000, is that going to make you a successful person, or is that just like what you need to get by?
Oh.
Times that by 5. That little shot of, there's no way I can make $500,000. That's the scarcity that we're looking for, so I can try and get you to now turn that off.
Okay.
Not about how not to get to 500,000, but how can I get to 500,000?
So would you say
That's
that
cool.
Whatever your goal is, okay, this, first of all, one of my favorite books is Atomic Habits. So Hayden hears me talk about this all the time, which is the mindset of get 1% better, set little goals, right? Yep. Like the little goal of, okay, put your shoes by the door, make that the first step to working out. This idea, though, is the total opposite of that, which is set the goal big. So I think there's value in both of them. And what do you prefer? What do you do?
So there's actually a caveat to it. So set the giant goal and then break it down into smaller goals to make it achievable. So I think of it like if you need to climb 100 feet up and you have a ladder that you got to climb up, but the rungs are 10 feet apart each one.
You can't do it.
You will never reach the first rung. So you'll sit there and jump at 10 feet until you get strong enough to maybe you get it. But then now you got to do it again on a smaller platform, and you probably are not going to get that. Might take you a long, long time to hit that next one.
That's a really good analogy.
Versus,
I really love that.
They're 1 foot, right? 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. You just start walking up.
You start seeing the wins, and you're a little bit higher than you were, and so that motivates
you've hit a big goal. It's I mean, you can put that in weight loss. You can put that in financial security. You can put that in insert any goal that you're trying to go after. And so I think that's my thought, is to make the goal so big to get rid of your scarcity mindset first, and then break it down from that gigantic goal down to this little first step of putting your shoes by the front door.
I love that. to me, that man, if anybody's listening to this podcast right now, like, you can shut it off from this point on and just
We're done.
Just take,
Let's go ahead and stop recording.
Just take that one point right there, because that's a game changer. That's a game changer in everything you do. So go set the really big goal. Think really big. Push that abundancy mindset that you might have. And if you're not getting there, I think for me now, if I ever start to feel frustrated with a goal, I'm going to be like, where's my rung, right? Just make that rung a little bit closer.
Well, and scarcity and abundance, we usually talk about when you're thinking of like other people too, where it's like, I don't want other people to achieve things because then maybe it takes away from me. But I love the idea of like an internal abundance versus scarcity, where you're like, I actually want to seek out the scarcity mindset. I want to find where my internal self is like, no, I can't do that. Yeah. And then I'm going to set a goal to do it, right?
And I want to kill it.
Yeah, and then you want to like get rid of it. So I love the idea of like, I'm going to find where I am scarce with myself. Like, there's no way I can make 100,000, 500, whatever it is. There's no way I can do that. And then be like, well, just because I thought that, now I'm going to set that goal and like push yourself. It's an interesting concept, because anytime I think about that mindset, I'm thinking about, how do I help others achieve what I also want to achieve? And
make the pie bigger.
Make the pie bigger. But I love doing that like internally too, which is really, really cool. And it's almost like, doing that helps people around you as well. It's like you accomplishing your goals is going to make your family better, your kids better, your coworkers, everything, right? Like, it's going to make everybody better around you.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, I love talking to you about money. I really like talking to Brad about money, right? And
I like to talk about money.
But here's the thing. I think money is hard for a lot of people to talk about. I wrote a book this year with my good friend Eric Sprague, The Road to Seven Figures. And we've done a lot of training with like service companies that are trying to get past that million, that 2 million, that 5 million. And I have found, almost without fail, one of the largest blocks to that is a money mindset. So we're going into the new year. We're going to talk about some goals and some mindset, but I want to talk with you specifically about a money mindset. How do you get a money mindset that is abundant?
I'm trying to recall the movie. If you aim for the moon, you'll get the stars thrown in, or you want to be a star. I can't remember what the quote either, but it's something to that effect, right?
If you aim for the moon, you'll land in the stars. Then you're still good.
And they just kind of get thrown in because that's where you're headed, right? It's the same thing. So, again, I started in 2015 or 16 with that mindset of $120,000, right? I thought $120,000 was the cat's me out. That's what I needed to be
like that's where happiness is.
That's where I thought happiness would be, right? And because I was only like $30-some thousand a year, so that was 5x, whatever the math is, to get to that point. I thought my mentality was I have to work 5 years to reach this point. If I can do it in one, I'm doing something big. And I mean, I've had months now that have been sometimes triple that in 1 month. And it's like, looking back again, seeing the journey through that it's really crazy. So now, moving forward in 2025, I have had a couple of mind-altering experiences, I guess, that changed my mindset from thinking my goal was like I need to get to 20 million. If I can get my net worth or my capital assets, call them whatever you want to call it, to 20 million, I can sell everything. I can take that 20 million and go invest it in a big apartment complex at a university, right? And that'll be my 20% down for 100 million. And then I purchased this $100 million apartment complex, and the tax benefits or the tax break depreciation will be over $1 million a year. So whatever I'm making passively from that at $1 million a year is going to be tax-free money at $1 million a year. So that was my new goal a couple years ago. Yeah. And so I've been kind of slowly working towards that, right? We're doing developments. We're still flipping houses. We're still doing the real estate. We're still investing in other small businesses locally. and we're growing. And then I don't even remember what it was, my aha moment, but I went to a Dallas Cowboy football game or something, and just sitting there in a box looking at how big that stadium was, and it's $1 billion stadium or $4 billion, whatever it's worth. Thinking to myself, why am I setting such small goals of 100 million? Right?
Yeah.
And that's even still mind-boggling, right? But I'm seeking out my scarcity mindset, because 100 million, how am I ever going to hit 100 million in asset column? How am I going to hit 20 million? How am I going to get 5? How am I going to get 1?
Yeah.
Again, breaking it back down.
I think it's interesting how we choose those numbers, right?
I know.
Like if you rewind to your, 2005, and you choose 125,000, that is a big number. Never seen it before, never done it before. Big rung, right? And then fast forward not even that many years forward, and you're like 100 million. Like, man,
such a big
the capacity
difference.
there, the capacity to change what we believe, I think is amazing. So, but it doesn't happen unintentionally.
No, you have to, and I've done other podcasts where we take action, right? There's a quote, I can't remember who says this either, but you have your dreams, right? You're chasing your dreams. Well, why are you chasing your dreams instead of making a plan? It's not a dream, it's a plan. So the plan now is $100 million in asset column, and possibly giving away homes, or giving back to the community, or like we were just talking about earlier, what's called again, the Blackfoot
Urban renewal.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get involved in things like that we are making an actual difference in the community that's so large that people are going, how are they doing that? Or, I don't know, one little teeny rung at a time.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, though, you don't chase a dream, you make a plan.
You make a plan and go after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Do it.
I love that. Probably the coolest thing I think about all of this, Brad, and Katie's the same way, but like, you both are super passionate about this. And I think for me, that's what, it's a question that I've had on my mind. It's something that I wanted to talk about today, because I don't know if you were, I'd like to pose this question. Were you passionate about real estate, and that's why you got into real estate, or, marketing? Or were like, hey, this is a way to make some money, and now it's become your, you know what I'm saying? Like, finding your passion.
Which comes first?
Yeah, it's like the chicken or the egg, right? Because there's a lot of people that are like, I mean, me included, like, I want to start a side hustle that involves one of my favorite hobbies, right? Or like, I want to do a side hustle that involves golf, or whatever it is, right? That's like, golf is a passion of mine that I want to maybe make some money from. That would be really cool. But it seems like real estate maybe wasn't that way for you. It wasn't like, you're like, man, I love selling homes, right? I love dealing with homeowners that are grumpy at me because I didn't make them enough money, whatever it is, right? Like, I'd be curious, I guess, to hear your thought on the finding your passion, or maybe
How do you turn the plan into a passion?
turning your passion into a business, or finding your passion in your business, your work.
Yeah,
So
good question.
This is a great question. It is a journey, right? So, and that's where I'm learning to enjoy my journey more than the destination, because I've reached the destination 4 or 5 times, and so I'm like, oh, I'm here. Well, now what? Right? And
That
so
becomes very unsatisfying,
it's
right? You've
very
got to have
unsatisfying.
somewhere else.
And so the art of the deal, like, not to take that from Trump's book or anything, but like, the art of finding and dealing and making that happen is now my passion. It's not necessarily real estate. I do real estate because I know it. And I know it very well at this point, because I was in the construction field at the beginning. I've done the business side of being a CEO and running a construction company. I've bought and sold properties. I managed properties. I currently flip properties. I currently develop properties. So I've done most things except residential real estate. I haven't broken into the commercial world as much, but
Well, let's talk about that.
right, we can. Yeah, we can get after that too, because I'd be very interested in learning it. Yeah. And so I guess to answer your question, my passion is the deal and the learning, the growth through that.
Yeah.
To not, like, I'm more passionate about that. And then once I've learned it, in now being able to teach my kids. Because when you teach your kids something and it's frustrating at first because it's like, why can't you just understand this? Like, pop it into your little head so that you can know what I'm talking about. And I equate it to sports, especially because my little boy is trying to learn basketball. Little boy is 13 now, so he's not that little.
Yeah, he's not going to appreciate you calling him your little boy, Brad.
He'll always be our little boy. So, and I've been like, man, why aren't you more aggressive? Go. Well, it's because it's him, right? He does it differently than I would do it. I'm aggressive, and I want to go and fight and win, and that's my passion, right? Well, I'm trying to teach him how to find his own passion in the sport. He loves basketball. He loves playing basketball. I love basketball. And so now instead of me trying to make him be me, right, which is not working, I have taken a different approach to, okay, well, let's just put the work in together and maybe find you for you. Yeah. We go to the Apple every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not even really working out. We're just shooting. Yeah. Like, shoot some foul shots. And I just rebound for him and tell him what I think maybe how he could fix his shot a little bit, make sure you're following through, whatever the case may be. And then to go to a game and see what we worked on.
See the differences.
And it's like, oh, my gosh. Yeah. It's a different perspective as to what I was thinking. And I don't even know for sure where I was going with that whole story, other than the fact that in growth and in learning, I love to now teach it. Yeah, so now we're coming back to, I like to talk about it in a podcast. I just met with Ashley earlier today, like totally for free. Like, I make money doing other stuff. I don't need that. I really want her to now succeed at this venture that she's having in Blackfoot. I'm not even really involved in Blackfoot. Yeah. I'm involved in Idle Falls and in north of here. And again, I want to help other people there to grow and to learn, because as I'm teaching it, my dad kind of taught me this in the scouting program, as I'm teaching it, I'm learning way more than those boys were.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
When I'm teaching you how to make a fire out of sticks, I'm honing my own skill. I'm getting better at it. So the journey has become my passion versus just the real estate or just the money. The money portion of it is my passion, though, and I'm not money motivated at all. Yeah. Like, I don't even care about the stuff. Like, I bought a brand new truck and I got rid of it. Traded it in for an 02 Duramax instead of a 24 Duramax because I didn't want all the buttons on my horn. So, and the horn's little, like, I love it. When I first bought that truck, I was like, it's nothing.
Yeah, right? That's awesome.
So I've learned that I'm not money motivated, and I thought I was forever, but that's before I had it. Yeah. And then I got it, and I was like, just way more work.
It's the journey, and the other thing I think, and you've kind of just said this, but like, you're passionate about teaching people and helping people learn and helping people grow. So, like, it's not just for you. Like, you're like, man, how do I help? It's, we beat that word to death, but the abundance mindset. You're like, how do I help Ashley grow? Or how can I help my son get better at basketball in a way that he wants to? Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, you need to yell and scream and fight to win. Like, hey, we're going to work on what you want to work on, right? And I love that. I think a lot of people, me included, end up wanting to get into something that they're passionate about. But I think if you find a passion, regardless of what business or field that you're in, you're going to be much happier in life. I would assume,
well,
right?
It's interesting. I work with, I have the pleasure for the last 13 years of working with a lot of service businesses, right? Yeah. I mean, I meet very few of them. They're like, I am so passionate about plumbing. I love passionate about HVAC.
Carpets.
Like, they don't say that, but I got
getting in a crawl space.
Like, that's not what they're passionate about. What they're passionate about is having freedom to provide for my family. They're passionate about helping people on the worst day of their lives, right? But the actual job is not the passion. It's the journey or what you're getting doing the job.
Sometimes the job sucks.
Yeah. Right? Sometimes the job sucks. And you said that earlier, embrace the suck.
Yeah. Or maybe their passion's like just they want to be independent. They don't want to work for somebody else. Maybe their passion's like, I want my freedom. I want independence. And so, like, that could be a passion too. And they're like, this is how I worked for in a construction company, so I'm going to start my own construction company because I want freedom. I want, I think it's a good analogy because, very, very few of our clients are like, man,
I'm just so passionate about cleaning carpet. I just like love it. Like that's not true, right? Yeah. And I would say even like I do digital marketing. Am I passionate about it? I'm passionate about sharing it. I'm passionate about the result of it. Am I passionate about actually the doing of it? Not so much. But that's why when you walk into our building, we have a big mural up that says, we elevate people and businesses. Now that I'm passionate about.
That's a passion.
Yes.
Passionate about elevating people and businesses. And you know what? A lot of times I do that through digital marketing. A lot of times you do it through real estate. But that's what you have to find no matter what you do. Whatever your job is or whatever your goal is, what is the passion that's behind it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, super cool.
And I guess, you know, when I think about it, very rarely is the passion the actual thing. So if my goal is to work out, I'm really not passionate about working out.
I loathe it.
Right? But I'm passionate about what
Feeling
it's
good.
going to, the health, the feeling good, the looking good, whatever. But think about if I think about really, truly any goal, am I passionate about that goal? Usually the actual action that's required to get what we want is not where the passion
And the
lies.
discipline, right? And that's the hardest thing in being successful, I think, is the discipline to take a baby step. Like when you get out of bed at 5 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning now to take my son at 6, I'm like sitting on the edge of the bed like,
Oh, I don't want to do this.
I
It's
could
10
sl-
degrees
I
below
could
zero
sleep.
outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then so I take him, we shoot around, I come home, I drop him off, and then I go do something else, go to work, whatever. And my wife will take him to school, and he sits there and talks to her about time he just spent with Dad for 5 minutes. Whew, right? Makes me emotional thinking about that.
Yeah, so cool.
because she comes home and she's like, he really enjoys that. That is now my motivation at 5:30 when I sit on the edge of the bed going, I got to get up. Yeah, I can't miss because he will miss.
Yeah.
So whatever those rungs are, while we're climbing them, we've got to find, I think what I'm hearing you say, right, is we got to find what the real passion is behind whatever the goal is.
It's just one of the hardest things to do in life, right? Like, find your why.
Yeah.
That's another book.
Simon Sinek. It's a great book.
That's so hard. It's so hard to find your true passion. Because, I just heard you say a second ago, which was maybe you want the freedom of being able to do what you want.
Yeah.
I don't know that you do. Sometimes there's
It's
days
hard. Oh, yeah.
you're in the basement of your house and it's 10 below zero outside, and I can sit there and watch TV all day if I wanted to, and that's the freedom for me to make that decision. But then if I make that decision and I go 2 or 3 days and I do the same thing,
You're not happy.
I'm sitting there going, oh, I am a lazy pile of crap.
Yeah.
Get off your butt and go do something.
Yeah.
And so, that's what freedom truly is, right? People are thinking, well, I want the freedom to just be lazy.
Just
do
sit around and play
whatever I
video.
want.
Yeah.
Play video games or
Golf.
watch TV.
Yeah,
or,
just sit
or
around and golf. Yeah.
Or fish. Or do you truly want to retire? Like, people, do you know what retirement means? I wish I could just say, here's 50 grand, take 2 months off, and tell me what you're going to do with your life, right? And are you going to just squander the 50 grand and spend it
And
on
waste the time.
Cheetos and waste 5 months of your life or whatever it is that you decide to do with it? Or are you going to take that 50 grand and go, I have an opportunity here with some time to really reflect on myself and then go invest that and grow it into 500,000. Like, people, their mindset is not right. And so, yes, they might think they want the freedom of owning a construction business. Please, no, you don't. You think you don't have time now working 40 hours? Own a construction business.
Own a plumbing business. Own a restoration company. Own a digital marketing company.
Do you know when my phone shuts off? Never.
Yeah.
It's on 24 hours a day. I got a text message last night at 12:24.
The Success Elevated podcast is brought to you by SOS Navigator. SOS Navigator is an on-demand training platform geared towards marketing, personal development, and business growth. We understand that as a business owner in the service industry, you wear a million hats. Let SOS Navigator be a simple and cost-effective way for you to continue to grow your business. Click the link in the show notes below and use code SOS Podcast to get 10% off your next on-demand training course.
I think, though, what you just said, like, isn't that the coolest exercise, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just Okay, so put your mind in the place where you can say, okay, if I had $50,000 right now and I had all the time, what would I do with it? What would it look like? What would that $50,000 look like? What would I look like in 5 months?
Bump it to $1 million.
Yeah.
Because don't we play that game in our head sometimes when you drive by the Powerball sign that says you could win $100 million? Maybe I should go buy it. Like they advertise that for that exact reason. They're playing on your mindset of saying, well, if I had 100 million, or if I had $1 million, if I had 50,000, if I had 5,000, what could I do with that money? Well, I'd finish my basement. I'd buy a car. I'd pay off my house. I'd pay off my mom's house. And people think through that process. Well, once you've done that, then now what?
Then what?
And nobody thinks of that.
Once you've done the vacation, once you've bought the whatever, then what?
Yeah, then what?
Nobody ever thinks of the aftermath of that. And it's
a good exercise. Get yourself to that place and try to answer that question.
And then build a plan, right? So once you've thought through that, but you've got to settle down to do that first. Yeah. You can't be on your phone scrolling, listening to a podcast, watching a YouTube video, watching TV, playing a video game. You can't be doing those things because your mind is now busy with everybody else's stuff. You've got to get to a place where you sit down for an extended period of time in literal silence to then start to, and do it with purpose and with maybe a blank piece of paper or something to think about, because your mind will start to wander into whatever it needs to wander into and start jotting it down and say, I have a purpose that I want to make a plan to chase a dream. I'm going to sit down for 2 hours today in complete silence and do nothing but sit in my own thoughts, which again, takes a lot of discipline and it's hard, but it's very worth it.
I mean, I think you could survey 1,000 people, 10,000 people, whatever, and ask them, when was the last time you did that? Very, very few people.
Yeah, maybe one, if that.
But yet, that costs nothing.
It's free.
It's free.
Isn't that fun, right? I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you teach people? I would love to do that, exactly that. Let's run a survey and see, out of 1,000 people, when's the last time you sat down for 1 hour in your own thoughts?
Hey, you got a nice Facebook following. Throw it out there.
Yeah, maybe I will.
How many of you have done this?
You know, I was just at an event a couple weeks ago in Orlando, Florida, and Brian Tracy was there as a speaker. Brian Tracy is awesome, right? This guy, he is not young, right? He's walking out on the stage with his walker, and I'm thinking, why are you here? Like,
Right.
It must have been hard to get on a plane and travel and be here. Why are you walking out on this stage to talk? And I thought that was so fascinating to me. And I'm like, that's somebody who's found their passion, who's found their why. And one of the things he talked about a lot, this is what made me think of it, is he's like, you have to get out a pen and paper and write things down. And he acknowledged, like, it's a digital world and I love AI and I love all this stuff, but you have to put your thoughts onto paper. There's something that happens when you do that. Would you agree with that?
100%. And even if you let the paper sit there on a counter and you never really look at it again, there's something about writing it down that will make it stick longer, and maybe you see it later. Maybe you put it up on the wall or on a mirror or something. Yeah. And so that you purposely have to see it. I think that people get lost in those processes too, or they put it on the mirror and then it's an everyday thing that they're looking, they think that's going to remind them of what they need to do.
Where's the plan?
But you're just looking at it. And so you looked at it for 10 seconds and then you walked away. What are you doing as an action step every day to get 1% better, to
One
get
wrong.
to a gigantic goal of 100 million, 500, $1 billion? Like, and it's not about the money, it's about the process. And so now my goal is getting to where I want to give some pretty big stuff away and do some big stuff for my city that I grew up in, right? Not necessarily grew up in, but that I live in now, my kids are growing up in. So how do I make big advances in the city of Idaho Falls or Blackfoot, right? Even if I'm not here, why can't I help somebody else that is here learn to do the exact same thing?
That's the freedom you were talking about there,
Yeah.
Hayden.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
the freedom you
That's
were talking
some
about.
real freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think, when I say freedom, I don't think it's the freedom to not have to work. I think it's just the freedom to be able to determine your own destiny, right?
But I think, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think also really, truly, if I'm not taking the 2 hours to sit down and get quiet and think, my first thought is, it is the freedom to not work.
Right.
That's where I'm going to first.
Everybody sitting in their
like,
9 to 5 is just like, gosh, I would love to just be home right now. Yeah.
Get me out of here.
It does take that extra time. Take it to the next step, right?
Is like, that do I really want to just not work?
Is that really what you want?
Yeah.
So
And I think there's some big billionaire guys, right, that they take that like weeks at a time, and of course they have places to go,
right? And
they go disappear for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month, and just reflect and figure out what they're going to do. And then I think that 99% of people, if they did that, would come out of the back end with a really solid game plan as to what they want to do with their life.
So cool.
Love
Good
it.
thoughts. Good thoughts.
So I want to close with one thing. So you talked about finding your why. We talked about, like, let's dig into the scarcity and set a big goal that makes us maybe a little scared, right? We talked about this, and people are in a place that they can carve out an hour or two to start making a plan. What are some simple ways, and I would love to hear from both of you on this, but what are some simple things that they can do to start constructing a plan to get to their goal? Is it like, what are some ways that you've maybe created some of those small rungs? Okay, hey, I want to get to $20 million in assets or whatever it is. What are some things, how do you start forming? You don't have to give the whole plan, but like, how do you start forming a plan? They've got the time.
What does the first 10 rungs look like?
Yeah. Or like, and it doesn't have to be even that specific, but like, they've carved out time. They've found their why. They've set this big scarcity goal. What are like some little actionable things they can do to build a plan?
Yeah. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I love this because you have to start somewhere, and it has to be small. Because if you try and start big, you'll never make it. You might win the lottery, but then you'll probably fall back down and not have it. So again, writing it down, daily affirmations. Inside of the daily affirmations, writing what you're thankful for. Figuring out what you're thankful for, because after you write it down like 3 times or 4 times, I'm thankful for my wife, I'm thankful for my kids, I'm thankful for my house, I'm thankful for my job, you start to lose. So now you have to, again, sit in your own head and figure out what you're thankful for. That is a very, very simplistic way to start, like rung 1.
Yeah.
Figure out, I'm thankful for this, and this is now my goal. So rung 1 is putting that plan together.
Yeah.
It's just like building a house. You don't start building a house by just going out with a shovel and digging a hole randomly.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Like, no. I mean, you might be able to figure it out. It's going to take way longer. It's not going to be as efficient. It's not going to be as strong. But you dig a hole first. You tamp the ground. Then you put in a foundation. Then you frame. Then step on step on step on step on step. So I think the goal setting would be the exact same process. Yes, we want to build a house. Yes, we know that the house is the end result. But what are the steps between A and Z? And that is that quiet time to sit down and process that, set it down, and then set those obtainable goals. So let's say that in the first month, I want to get the foundation in. Well, how do I get the foundation in? Well, I've got to find an excavator. I've got to dig the hole. I've got to find a concrete guy to pour the concrete. I've got to find a concrete company to bring me the concrete. So now I've broken down those things. And I'm talking about real estate and about building houses because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Insert whatever your goals are here. I need to lose weight. Well, you got to start with eating less, right?
Yeah.
It's a very simple concept. Mm-hmm. I have to eat less. Less of this. More of this.
Yeah.
It's a calorie in versus calorie out thing. It's very, very, very simple, but we complicate it so much. I need Ozempic. I need a personal trainer. I need a gym membership. No, you don't. Get off your butt and walk outside and walk down the sidewalk and walk back and don't eat as big of a breakfast.
Rung 1.
Yeah.
Rung 1.
Rung 1.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to, it doesn't matter. Break it down and start with the first rung.
Yeah.
Love it.
What do you think?
What's your rung 1,
So
Katie?
good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have rung 1. That is rung 1. That is magic right there. But I think a couple of things to me that stand out are I think it's really powerful to have a way to start your day. Like own the start of your day.
affirmation or write it down, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, but have a way to start.
For me, when I figured out what my morning routine looked like, and I don't get up at 5 a.m., I get up at a good time, but when I got control of my morning routine and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, I started to own my day in a much more powerful way, right? And it's like, I realized it's as simple to me now. I've done it for a long time, but it is like I get up. I realized I go out and I turn on a lamp in my living room. That seems so stupid, but at some point in time, I realized that the act of turning on that lamp triggered the rest of my morning routine, right? Which led to some scripture study and some meditation and some planning for the day. If I don't get up and turn on that lamp, I get off track.
Derails it.
Isn't that dumb? The smallest little thing put a whole trigger into place for things that I think set up a day of success. The other thing that came to mind when you were saying, you put the concrete, you do this, you do that. I'm like, the other thing I think that you do is you find somebody that will walk that path with you. Somebody who has been there before, somebody that's passionate about what you're doing. I think sometimes too, we think we have to figure out everything on our own, and that's hard. Like, don't go build the house by yourself. Go find somebody that has the equipment and has already done it and let them show you how. And I think sometimes we miss opportunities to ask for help from people who are more than willing to come to town and give it to you.
Right. For free a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe not pay them, but it's for free. And when you were talking just now about building a house, there's 100,000 pieces. Think about what a house actually is between all of the nails, all of the studs, all of the wires, all of the
probably
screws,
millions of pieces.
Millions of pieces. Think about what that takes to put a house together one little piece at a time, like a giant puzzle. And then how many different hands touch that, right? Yes, could one person go do it? You could.
You do have a general contractor.
Yep. And I'm saying just like if I were to say I'm going to go build it, I could go rent a backhoe, I could dig a hole, I could start to do all of it, I could pound every single nail. That's going to take me maybe 2 years if I'm working 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, putting every screw in every piece of drywall, building the cabinets. I mean, that's going to take a long time versus if I have 10 subcontractors or 20 subcontractors, and each of the subcontractors has 10 people that work for them.
And they're experts at what they do.
And they've been doing it for a long time. We can slap a house together. Shouldn't say slap a house together because that makes it sound cheap. But we can build a house in 4 to 5 months, start to finish.
Yeah.
Like, that's really amazing. My dad used to say, there's not enough time in the day to do everything yourself. You can't make enough money by yourself. Speaking about building a house, if I had a hand stick build it all myself and then sell it, like, let's do the math and separate that all out, right? Like, after I paid for all of the stuff, I maybe make $200,000. Yeah, maybe you did $100,000 a year, but you slaved to the bone to do that.
What was the opportunity cost of doing it?
Maybe you got some education, right? Because you had to learn how to do all of the process yourself. So you grew through that. So there's some education in that too, but there's so much better ways to do it. And normally it's with a team of people. And that's one of my things that I was going to say to Ashley about helping her through her process. Like, who's your team? Is it just you? Because this might take you a long, long time to do it. If I didn't have the group of investors that I'm currently with and the friends and my wife and my kids and my support system that's behind me, I would never be where I'm at.
That might be rung like 0.5. That might be like rung. You just find some people that can help you get there.
Yeah, and well, you just said that, right? So find someone that's been doing it already that might help you through the process, a mentor, then also find someone that you can teach. Yeah. Because you actually grow more here in the teaching process than you do in the mentor process. And give it away for free. What you're putting out into the universe like that is going to come back to you tenfold. Talk about scripture study. That's a biblical concept.
Yeah.
Give and your barns will be filled to the brim.
Yep.
And it's just the truth, right? Like, and it happens. I dare you to try.
Yeah.
Because it
Well,
will happen.
you've inspired me to go make some bearded rolls. I'm going to go 10x whatever I'm planning for this year, and really spend some time checking that scarcity mindset and seeing, okay, is that really what I want? And then thinking a little bit bigger with it and making a plan. I think forever that image of a ladder is like, that was life changing for me, to see a ladder where the rungs are 10 feet apart. And like, you want to know why you can't get where you want to go? This is it. Just make your rungs closer together and you can get up however high the ladder is.
Love it.
I agree.
Love it. Brad, thank you so much. This has been awesome. It's great to have you back on. We will have you on again in the future. It's we need to make it a more consistent thing. If people want to reach out to you, obviously you got a Facebook page.
I do.
That a lot of people are on right now. Is that the best way to reach out to you? There's
a couple of Facebook pages. So I have a business page, Big Daddy Camphouse.
Big Daddy Camphouse.
And then I just have my regular Facebook page, which is Brad Camphouse. And then I have the Bearded Realtor, which is on Instagram. We have the Bearded Realtor, which is on TikTok. And we're currently working with y'all to put together a landing page website that is going to have like all of the stuff we're doing, the videos, the investing, the real estate, and so we got to sell the real estate to make money too. So obviously we got to advertise that. So which is being built. I don't even know what we're going to call it yet, but we'll get there.
Love it. Love it. Lots of ways to find you.
Yep.
Really appreciate it. We're super happy to have you on. We're going to have you on again in the future, talk more things like this. And it's been a great podcast.
It's going to be a good 2025.
It's going to be a great 20. I think the next 4 years are going to be awesome.
Love it.
Cool.
Thanks, Brad.
Yep.
Thanks, Brad.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.